more cancellations are coming in the X-Men line. It's been quite a couple of years of a complete line-wide reboot in 2024. Remember, they called it From the Ashes. They're going to rise like a phoenix. And the ashes implies that things were burned down and that things were pretty bad. Now, they don't say that, but that's the implication right there. It's like DC Comics' like all-in initiative, right? It's like, we're going to do storytelling that we've never done before and actually go all in and actually give our best efforts this time. It's like, were you not giving your best efforts before? Is that what you're telling me, that you weren't all in before, that you kind of were just phoning it in before? It's a really weird marketing once you actually break some of this stuff down. That's exactly what was going on with X-Men, right? So they were supposed to rise from the ashes, and unfortunately, it turned out they had some chicken wings and they can't actually fly. As they relaunch this X-Men line to a woke nightmare with no real editorial vision, no direction. Just feels like it's floundering all the way around. Now, Weapon X-Men is one of those titles that got out there and got canceled, and it was, their new initiative was supposed to be a little longer than this. So what's going on in this situation? Let's talk about this and talk about all the canceled titles in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in comics here, my friends. Since they will not give you what you want with superhero books, I am, of course, making my own superhero universe. It's called Flying Sparks. And I know where the healthy industry is. It's with Webtoon. It's with Tapas, with webcomics. And so that's what we're doing here. This is my Flying Sparks, which I'm putting up every single day for free for you to read the back issues of, so that you guys can get in on this universe. It is a full-on deal. It's on Substack because I love this. It's a free speech platform that allows me to do my thing. And we're going to be putting up more than just Flying Sparks on here. There'll be other comics on here. I've got exclusives already for the paid subscribers, which are just crushing it. So if you've not read Extra Sensory, which ties into Flying Sparks, this is something where it's only been available on Subscribestar before. And for Subscribestar supporters, if you're on there already, this is a spot where it's going to be the same content. I'm not going to do anything on not on Subscribestar. Everything always goes there. The comics will also go here as a paid subscription. That are the exclusives. The non-exclusives will be for free for the readers who just want to read. And this is the model. Yeah, it's a patronage model where it's like, it's you support me after I continue to produce content. You like it, so you want to support the artist. This is the healthy way forward, and this is exactly what Webtoon and Tapas has done. They put up their comics for free. They build a big Patreon group. I'm banned from Patreon because I'm too based. but so that's why we're doing it on Substack and on Subscribestar. So this is the spot to be. This is the new community that is the alternative to Marvel and DC Comics. Sign up for the Substack in the description below. I've also got a web store with all my books and stuff if you want to support us directly right now, as well as Subscribestar. We have a great Discord community. Join our community, guys. We're building so fast and so awesome. Thanks for being here, my friends. All right, let's get into this news right here. So Weapon X-Men was canceled after 5 issues. Now, this is weird because Marvel said they were approving series for 10 issues at a time just recently. This is May, so this is 2 months ago. Clarified that a change in Marvel Comics decision-making. In recent years, a number of comic books were announced as ongoing series that only had a mini-series worth of issues actually approved in the schedules, and any further extension would be down to sales. As a default, they would end in 4 or 5 issues like this new Weapon X-Men has. This led some retailers to take a more conservative approach to the new series. If there isn't enough chance, they'll make it to double digits and encourage people to collect back issues. But things, it seems, are changing. So ICV2 asked Dan Buckley, "We've heard from retailers that the shortening up of series with more one-shots and more miniseries and fewer ongoing series that are longer makes it hard to maintain a habit of collecting. Marvel definitely in that role." So he said, "I think the days of having 500-issue runs are probably a reach, of course. But we're going to have less limited series and more ongoing with our characters. I'm not going to say there won't be limited series, but I'm at the moment approving some series of 10 issues at a time, not 4 or 5. Hopefully I can get to 15 or 20. That's pretty rough. Yeah. So these series are not maintaining readerships even to last 2 years, guys. It's less than a year at most part, and that's when they all get canceled. And we saw this happening with NYX, gone already, right? That one did not last very long at all. We saw it with the new X Factor, gone. And it's because these titles don't actually evoke the characters that people want and the way that people were before. So I mean, with X Factor, that was we know what X Factor was back in the day, and of course it looks nothing like that these days. It's just some guy using the title. NYX, same thing. I mean, that was a Joe Quesada deal where they introduced X23 and the like. which was a kind of fun little miniseries back then. A little edgy, it was. But now it's just like this Ms. Marvel like political propaganda thing by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly that nobody wanted to read. And we're seeing problems even across the mainline stuff with X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. The sales of those are not up there. And what happens with these tertiary titles is if the main line doesn't get enough sales up there and are not moving the needle to a point where people are super interested in what's going on, the ones that are under the umbrella below that die with it because they get way less sales all the way around. We've already seen other ones. Dazzler, I think, was one that they had as a mini-series that they were hoping was going to be something of an ongoing series. It was a huge LGBT propaganda fest. That's gone as well. And so now we're seeing this Weapon X-Men leaving after 5 issues. So Joe Casey, who's the writer on this, has a Substack about it, looking at it. He's talking about this book. He says the series was canceled before the publisher agreed to 10 issues, and it's also peculiar given the makeup of the team with Wolverine, Deadpool, and Cable. You'd think that this is much a bigger sort of thing that would have gone pretty well. So Tom Brevoort said, sometimes a book is slated to be an ongoing, but the support of the marketplace simply isn't there to allow that. It's more and more the case these days. We saw Steve Orlando talking about how it's rare that a book gets 20 issues at this point because they just can't sustain it. That was the case with Weapon X-Men. Indeed, aside from the first issue, it didn't bother the top 50 of the month or the rest of his issues. Well, Joe Casey isn't talking about any of the details of its cancellation so far, but in his Substack newsletter, he says, I'm eventually going to give my overall thoughts on the fate of Weapon X-Men and why it ended the way it did in a future newsletter. This one wasn't the time or place, but there's a little tease. It had a lot less to do with sales than you think. That's what he said at the end of his Substack sort of deal here as he was talking about the book. Lot less to do with sales than you think. Now, if it didn't hit the top 50 in any of the charts, that's pretty much everything to do with sales. That means it was not going anywhere. When you have a Wolverine, Cable, and Deadpool sort of deal, these are 3 characters that should be shining and should be like so big, especially as a Deadpool and Wolverine movie's coming out. That should be at the top of the charts. Why wasn't there? That's crazy. That movie was so huge, everybody was talking about these characters. And so as you see, this is interesting, always interested in seeing the decision-making choices, but the decision-making choices are pretty obvious at this juncture, even though he says it has nothing to do with sales. Tom Brevoort implied that sales are really struggling for a lot of the X-Men line. We know that. A lot of retailers have told me that nobody's in on this X-Men line since From the Ashes. Even the Uncanny X-Men and the like are not selling well. It's a big, big problem, and it's because they've put an emphasis on identity politics into this entire deal. We saw Gail Simone has turned Uncanny X-Men into a big pride parade, pro-immigration sanctuary city mashup event that's coming up in Uncanny X-Men. Like, nobody wants to read that. It sounds terrible. That's, if that's what the X-Men are fighting against, they're fighting against America, and your primary audience is Americans. It doesn't make any sense for them to do that. But this is what Marvel Comics has consistently done over the last decade. They've made things a hyper left-wing agenda politics sort of thing. They have given people what they don't want and things. And on top of that, there's no real continuity. Everything's getting canceled and rebooted and canceled and rebooted, and there's no like ongoing story anymore. The writers are not caring about what's happening over the last 10 years and like building from that like they used to. They have these events that just wipe out all of continuity, and I guess this new one with the giant-size X-Men this summer actually is inserting Ms. Marvel into the background of the Marvel Universe like she was always there. It's insane. But this is what they do every single time. So what's the purpose in reading at this point? There's nothing changing and progressing about the characters. It's a disaster, and you can't storytell well from that position to begin with. That's where this is at, and that's why this is getting canceled, in my opinion. Please leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. You guys, we are building a universe, and right here, my continuity is always going to exist because it's just me writing it. I'm going to make sure that the characters progress. The characters become real heroes. They actually do things that matter. The world changes with them. And that's a big deal. And that's something that Marvel and DC don't give you anymore, but we are, my friends. So get on the Substack today. This is the Real Alternative. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting our alternative arts. Real comics, guys. Real readership. That is the future. I appreciate you reading. And we'll be back soon.